Hello, I'm Robert Kelly, and this is Record All Monsters Monster Mailbag number 7 and the finale of the Monster Mailbag miniseries for this season.
Season finale.
Not
ultimate.
Yeah, we'll be answering your comments, questions, and such next season as well.
Indeed.
So, Courtney, hi.
Hi.
It's been a long time since I've seen you.
False.
Yeah, no, we're just watching My Name is Earl. But it has been about a month since we did a Monster Mailbag. And what's in the mailbag?
Let's see.
Is it candy?
Candy for the ears.
Oh, that was good. You did that good.
We got another round of emails from our friend Ben. Let's see. Or email questions. It says, "Hello, Robert and Courtney. Here is another large batch." Also, hello. Here's another large batch of questions to end this season's Monster Mailbag with. I racked my brain in order to think of every single possible question I'd ever want to ask in the universe. But since the universe and I are on speaking terms, I guess I'll ask the hosts of my favorite podcasts. You do not need to read/answer every single one if there's too much. Oh, we're your favorite.
I heard that too. Thank you.
Robert, you've spoken a couple of times about how Guillermo del Toro is a favorite filmmaker of yours. So here are some questions about our dear monster boy. Which of his work would you say is your favorite?
Which of his is my favorite? I love all of his films equally. It's like asking to choose between my children, of which we have none. But
just a bunch of baby Yodas.
If it came right down to it, I think I would probably take Kronos, The Devil's Backbone, and Crimson Peak, and Pan's Labyrinth, and Shape of Water, and Hellboy 2, and Blade 2, and Mimic.
Mine would be between Crimson Peak, Shape of Water, and Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim. I left that off.
What?
That's a sin on my part.
Rude.
Pacific Rim is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Same.
I saw that in the theater 10 times. Now, that wasn't all organic. I was moving that summer. And so a lot of my friends in town were like, "Hey, you like giant monsters? There's a giant monster movie out. Let me take you to the movies before you leave." And I'd say that was maybe half of it. But I do remember at one point in the truck I drove at the time, there were just ticket stubs to Pacific Rim, like, everywhere. Like, on the floor, and in the glove box, and on the dashboard. So...
I saw it a bunch of times. I love how colorful it is. Have a crush on Newt Geisler. And it's just a movie that I knew nothing about going in. It was just like the next one showing, and I was with my friend, and we were like, That sounds interesting. We both like Guillermo del Toro casually. Let's go watch this. And we loved it. And then I went back and watched a lot of his other movies. Now we keep up to date.
Yeah. I feel like if there was a fire in our apartment and I could only grab one Guillermo del Toro movie, it might be Kronos.
Which I still haven't seen.
Yeah, it's his first film, and it's kind of his take on vampires, and there's so many layers. There's some of that. All the Guillermo del Toro hallmarks are there. My sister Aubrey has been a guest on the show before, and I, a long time ago, made a Guillermo del Toro drinking game. And we made it based off, I think, the Hellboy movies, Pan's Labyrinth, and The Devil's Backbone in Pacific Rim, because those were the ones we had seen and that were out. And all of the things, all the hallmarks were in that movie, even if they were kind of heavy-handed. But I really love that movie. So it might be Kronos, but ask me tomorrow, it'll probably be a different one.
Next question. Would you wish for Pacific Rim to enter the monsterverse?
No. But not because I have anything against either one. Like I said, Pacific Rim is one of my favorite movies ever, maybe. And I love all the MonsterVerse movies because they're just fun. They're just fun movies. But I don't think they really blend, even with the direction Godzilla vs. Kong took and kind of
making the Hollow Earth. The monsters are coming from below.
Well, but it's different. They're not coming out of the ground. They're coming through an interdimensional rift.
Yeah.
Coming through the rift.
Isn't that what it was?
No, the Hollow Earth is just... The Earth is in... There's another Earth inside the Earth. And it's upside down or something. So, I love both, but I think Pacific Rim has this, even with the sequel that wasn't as good, I think it has this kind of purity that might be... It's a fairy tale. It's Star Wars with kaiju, you know? And, yeah, I like it just the way it is.
Have you heard about his upcoming stop-motion adaptation of Pinocchio?
Yes! Yes! Oh my goodness, I keep up with everything that man does. We're also excited for Nightmare Alley.
Yes.
I'm so excited for Nightmare Alley. I really want this Pinocchio, though.
Yeah, as soon as I heard about it, I was like, this is literally one of the most Robert movies I've ever heard of.
Yeah, so Guillermo del Toro directed stop-motion Pinocchio. I love Pinocchio from of old. I've read the book a few times. I even love the Disney movie. It's just so weird and wonderful and creepy.
It's bizarre.
Yes, and I love it. Okay, what's next?
Because you know how to play the harmonica and guitar, I assume you're a fan of folk music. If not, you can just ignore this question.
Well, I am, so we won't ignore it.
Which folk artists are your favorite?
Oh. Well, I like Dave Van Ronk a lot. I like Stan Rogers. Of course, there's like the obvious one, Bob Dylan, the Kingston Trio.
Hipster.
That's the second fart noise I've had to make at you today.
Third time's a charm.
That's the I love folk music, blues music. I don't know if you count Tom Waits as folk. I know Spotify does because they tell me that he's my top artist in my top genre. Which folk is my top genre on Spotify, so that should tell you everything. Yeah, just even looking at our record collection over here, it's like on my side is like Bob Dylan, Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, Tom Waits, The Pogues, folk
Howlin'
punk,
Wolf,
Howlin' Wolf, Marty Robbins, Mumford and Sons. I've kind of cooled on them in the intervening years, but they have like 5 or 6 like solid A+ songs across those first 2 albums.
Saw them at ACL. They were pretty good. They put on a good show. Let's see.
Blues music is American folk music, by the way.
In order to keep these questions on topic, which giant monster do you think could be the best folk artist? In my opinion, King Caesar has a sort of rustic vibe that would fit in nicely with Dylan and Baez.
Yeah, King Caesar would be a good one. I could see...
Or Caesar.
I think the official name is King Caesar,
Okay.
but it's supposed to be Shisa, like the Shisa dogs.
Yes.
But I think that's a good choice. I feel like Kong himself would probably be a pretty good one. I think Anguirus.
Yeah.
He seems kind of like...
And his voice is a saxophone.
He kind of actually, now that I'm thinking about it, kind of reminds me of Dave Van Ronk, like this kind of grimy little, very talented, underappreciated little dude. I don't know if Dave Van Ronk was actually short. If you don't know who Dave Van Ronk is, he was someone mildly popular in the Greenwich Village scene in the 60s. Bob Dylan stole his arrangement of House of the Rising Sun from him, or borrowed. I love Bob Dylan, but and then the Animals stole it from Bob Dylan, and so it came full circle. Some great interviews. He has a great book, semi-autobiographical, or it is autobiographical. What is it called? It's not The Pope of Greenwich Village. That's the movie I used to see in the dollar bin at HEB all the time.
He's also...
The Mayor of McDougal Street. I'm sorry.
If you've seen Inside Llewyn Davis, which is really good, Llewyn Davis is based on him.
Heavily based on him. But yeah, look him up if you haven't heard of him.
Also, Guillermo del Toro's in the special features on that movie.
On the Criterion
Yeah.
DVD. Courtney and I have a running... I don't know if you call something people bring up together a running gag in real life. She has a crush on Oscar Isaac. Yes? Is this okay for me to...
Yeah.
And I call him that bastard Oscar Isaac. I can say bastard on this show. It's not a no-cussing show. We're a TV-14, I guess.
PG.
PG. Yeah, PG. But I actually like him a lot as an actor, even though I give her a hard time about it.
Heh.
Just because I'm insanely jealous. No. Because it's funny. But yeah. Anguirus.
Think that this isn't folk music, but I think that Hedora would be a very cool psychedelic DJ or something because of the music that they have in that movie.
Yeah.
Which obviously she is drawn to. So maybe she could make some good jams.
What's next?
Being a fan of John LeMay and his works, how many of his books do you own?
Well, just looking at my bookshelf right now, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, and I know there are at least 2 more that are at the desk because I was using them as sources earlier today. And there's 1 more that's there on the behind the shelf, behind one of the Baby Yodas. So that's 7 books by John LeMay I have.
And how many monster books would you say you own in total?
More than 20. I've kind of given up on just having them all. I was going to have them all listed in the sources section of the website, and I'm still kind of working on that for the time being. Only the ones I have actually used as sources for season 1 are up on the sources site, but
which ones do you recommend?
I do recommend the John LeMay ones. Editing Japanese monsters in particular and the Lost films have been a great source of joy for me. Godzilla on My Mind by William Setsui is very good. A Critical History and Filmography of Toho's Godzilla series by David Callett is kind of, I feel like, the place to start for, I feel like that's kind of the place to start for kind of a more academic look at Godzilla. Godzilla FAQ by Brian Solomon is solid. It's a little light on some things, but it is a very good primer as well. For just general monster books, what was it?
One that I like is Crab Monsters, Teenage Cavemen, and Candy Stripe. Crab Monsters, Teenage Cavemen, and Candy Stripe Nurses. Roger Corman, King of the Bee Movie.
Yes, that's
It's got a lot of really cool art in it.
it's a great coffee table book we have.
Sorry, I couldn't remember the full title of it. So I had to lean over and crane my neck.
On our bookshelf. One of our bookshelves. We have so many bookshelves.
Yeah.
Also, probably my most prized possession as a monster book is the Time Life Mysterious World book on monsters. It's from my childhood, and I love it, and I think you could find it on eBay.
We all know about the weird canceled Godzilla crossovers like Batman versus Godzilla and Godzilla versus Frankenstein. Are there any unorthodox crossovers you could think of that might strangely work? I'm not talking about the normal Godzilla versus Gamera stuffs. More like Godzilla versus Seinfeld.
That I'd like to see, actually, a lot. Jerry on the phone. Being like, no, it would be George. He'd be like, "There's a giant dinosaur outside my window."
Yep.
And Jerry's on the other line going, "I can't see anything from here. Are you sure?"
And then you hear the Godzilla theme, but it's only played on a bouncy bass guitar.
Yeah, boom. And that's all I'll do. Oh, let's see. Weird crossovers. Weird crossovers. I know the artist Matt Frank does a lot of Godzilla and My Little Pony crossover art.
Ah, that's so cool. Like old school?
A little blend. A lot of it's for commissions, I think.
Cool. What about Sesame Street and Godzilla?
I could see that.
And
I think Kermit did a Godzilla parody in the early Sesame Street when he was one of the regular cast.
That's awesome.
Out of it. Let's see. I kind of feel like putting Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka into one of the more disturbing horror movie universes. Like putting him into like a Lucio Fulci movie. like put him into Don't Torture a Duckling. Like that would be weird. What would he even be doing there in that little Italian village where boys are turning up dead? I want to see that. That might be too far. I want to see that, though.
Let's see. Oh, what about Alien Xenomorph versus King Ghidorah? That would be kind of cool, because they're both aliens.
They are both alien. What would happen if a Xenomorph got King Ghidorah? What would that look like? Because Xenomorphs take on so much of their host's characteristics. Much to think about.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, also, this is just something I do because we have the toys of them both. He-Man versus Beta Ray Bill. Like, let's see that. Let's see that sometime.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters, and this is an ad for Anchor. That's right, it's an ad for Anchor, and if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. I was really intimidated at first to start this show until I heard about Anchor, and there were a few things that made me feel more at ease to begin. First of all, it's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on a number of platforms, including whichever one you're listening to it on right now. You can even make a little money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And even their ads are easy. The mandatory call to action is something I can state freely. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Doesn't that feel good? This has been an ad for Anchor, and I've been Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters. Okay, next question.
What is the weirdest movie you've seen, and what is the weirdest you own?
I've seen some weird movies.
Same.
I was talking with our friend Nathaniel the other day, and he brought up a movie called Magic in the Mirror that was made by Charles Band's Full Moon Features in the 90s, like around 96, I want to say. And it's kind of an Alice in Wonderland ripoff where this little girl finds a mirror in her grandma's
I think
attic.
I've seen that.
And like there's some ducks who want to make tea out of children. That was the part Nathaniel was really focused on. And I think we talked about it in the Conga episode a little bit, and it came up again, like, just in person the other day. We were just talking, and he was like, the movie came up again somehow. Return to Oz, we also talked about. One of my favorite weird movies is Hexen. It's a 1920s silent film that's half documentary, half like recreation about, it's from Denmark in the 20s, and it's about witches and the history of witchcraft and persecution for outsiders just living on the edges of society, and how witchcraft was blamed for so many things. That movie's strange, not so much for its visual content, which is strange, but for how it's structured, because it's not structured like a typical documentary, because I don't really know if a typical documentary existed at the time. Other weird films.
One that I can think of is Daisies.
Daisies, very... Yeah.
Sedmi Krashki.
What is that, a Czech film?
Yeah.
From the 60s? Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. We watched that a few months ago. I had a good time with that.
Yeah, it's a pretty short movie. It's kind of like almost like a series of vignettes. Very experimental, especially for its time. But if you're into like French New Wave, this is considered Czech New Wave. And it's really cool.
Just looking at our DVD shelf, and we have 2 copies of Zombieland.
Another one would be Eraserhead.
Yes.
Which I know a lot of y'all have probably seen. And that has some images that are just like burned in my brain. That and Santa Sangre.
Which I still need to see.
Very much the same sort of like burned into my brain scenes.
Another strange film I really like, we watched it not too long ago, was V. It's a Soviet-Russian horror film based off the short story by Nikolai Gogol. I just loved it, and having been a monk at one point in my life, there's like some extra humor in the beginning for me.
Shore leave for monks.
Yeah. There's some weird things, especially anything, honestly, by Alexander Pushnik. I think that's his name. He directed a few movies. There was one he did that was featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000 called The Sword and the Dragon. Actually, that came up when John LeMay and I talked about Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. But he did that movie as well, and it's very strange. It's kind of like if you've seen El Cid, the Charlton Heston movie, that the guy who doesn't like Marvel movies, Scorsese.
Yeah.
He got that big DVD release like 10, 15 years ago, and it's kind of like that, but for a Russian folk hero.
What was that one, like, Bizarro movie that we watched that was on Mystery Science Theater? That was like a Gremlins knockoff.
Hobgoblins!
Yes!
I mean, we could fill this whole portion out with movies we've seen on Mystery Science Theater.
Hobgoblins. It's just a fun one. It's fun, and it's dumb, and it's enjoyable way to pass the time, especially if you watch it with Mystery Science Theater 3000. And then the Trolls. Oh, so
everyone knows about Troll 2, but Troll 1, which was also made by Charles Band and Full Moon Features, like Magic in the Mirror. That's a lot of fun. I got one for you. There was a Golan and Globus made 2 producers from Israel who founded Canon Films. And they did a series of fairy tale movies that all had like one big name star, like a Sleeping Beauty starring Sybil Danning. Now they did a Puss in Boots movie starring Christopher Walken.
What?
Yes, and I have this somewhere. But it's bizarre, and it's a musical. So you get Christopher Walken in like this cat suit wearing boots doing a song and dance teaching this guy about how like life works in the real world or something. It's a time. It is a time.
Next question. What director, alive or dead, do you think could have made a wonderful giant monster movie? If Federico Fellini made one, it would have been about a giant clown who is continuously depressed because he keeps crushing people accidentally with his juggling balls.
I would watch that. I feel like that would be set in the same universe as Colossal.
Yeah, I would watch that too.
I know, Courtney, you love Wes Anderson. I'd be interested in seeing what he could do with a giant monster movie.
Yes. Especially if he made it like stop motion, like Isle of Dogs. That would be really cool.
I really enjoyed Oz Perkins' output. He did the Gretel and Hansel last year, and The Black Coat's Daughter. Bring a pretty dark sensibility to it, but I'd be interested to see that. So I love Italian horror movies, and I honestly think Dario Argento, like not like late Dario Argento, but maybe like 70s Dario Argento. What could he do with something like? I think we'd see something a lot like Godzilla vs. Hedorah if he did.
Okay. Who was the better boy, Ultraman or Jet Jaguar? I'm gonna say Jet Jaguar.
I would say, so Ultraman's pretty merciless. Like, he always kills his opponents. And Jet Jaguar, well, you know,
he definitely has the better theme song.
I don't know. I like Ultraman's song.
Yeah, Ultraman's is good too.
But Jet Jaguar is just like burned into my brain. And I think there's something kind of punk rock about Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
Because, one, he's kind of an Ultraman clone, but the guy designing him didn't want to make an Ultraman clone. So he made it look as ugly as he could imagine. And just like that's the whole ethos of Jet Jaguar is you have one person saying, make it Ultraman, and the person who's supposed to do it saying, I don't want to. So I think I might go with Jet Jaguar, but Ultraman, you know, if they fought.
That would be cool.
We'll leave it at that.
Oh, I have another one that I just thought of to add to the weird movies. Spider Baby.
Spider Baby.
It's amazing.
Yes, great movie.
Super weird, but super good.
I also just thought of one. Because another Charles Band Full Moon features the PreHysteria series.
Oh, yeah.
Those were movies in the late 90s during the Jurassic Park craze, or early 90s maybe.
Yeah. If you ever want a snapshot of what the 90s looked like if you were a kid.
PreHysteria.
PreHysteria, the trailer.
I'll go ahead and recommend specifically PreHysteria 2, which is about a rich kid who is bullied by poor kids. But he's like obsessed with like Elvis and like 50s tough guy culture. And like he has a comb that is in a switchblade, and like he acts like he's gonna stab the help at his mansion with
Yikes.
it, but he makes friends with this poor girl, and the magic of dinosaurs, tiny dinosaurs, bring them together.
So, yeah.
Magic of tiny dinosaurs, who they name after various late 50s, early 60s rock and roll icons.
That's cool. I don't think I ever saw it, but I've seen the trailers multiple times because they're so entertaining. And I just feel like the movies won't be as entertaining as those trailers.
They are! Oh, and the third one's about a mini golf competition somehow.
That's the one that I want to see in actuality, like the full movie. Okay, here's a question that is Robert's favorite question that we have ever had.
It is.
Which is, have either of you ever worn a gorilla suit? If not, would you want to? Parentheses, for professional reasons. Funny story.
Go ahead.
So, Robert and I worked together, and I was walking past the office where he was working, which has a glass.
The wall is glass.
Is a glass pane, and he was looking at a gorilla suit, and he was like just kind of scrolling around, and then he clicked on it. I went into the other room and said, "Are you buying a gorilla suit?" And he was like, "What?"
I was not buying a gorilla suit, though I was pricing them. I have on many occasions sought to purchase a gorilla suit because I love gorilla suits. I have worn one. It did not close in the back, but we didn't need anything from the back at that moment. I still want to buy one. The same day Courtney was caught me pricing gorilla suits.
It was really funny.
I was still doing that about 5 minutes later, and my direct supervisor came in and talked to me about that I was getting a gas card for the city vehicles I drive. And as we're having this conversation, I have the gorilla suit up. And then my supervisor's supervisor, who's boss of everyone, came in as we're talking about the rules for this card. And I have a gorilla suit up online to buy.
It wasn't a good look.
No, it wasn't. And I had to clarify to my boss that I'm not using the gas card to buy a gorilla suit. But if we need one, we know where to get it. Yeah. That was...
Yeah. So to answer your question, yes.
I have worn a gorilla suit. Also, I have an uncle who hunts and he sets up trail cams. I really wanted to get a gorilla suit and just set off his cameras in the gorilla suit.
That sounds dangerous.
Well, it's just a trail cam. It's not like he's going to shoot me.
Would he be out there?
No. Not when I was doing it. I'm not stupid.
Let's see. Which movie monster do you think you have a fair chance at beating in a one-on-one fight? Or a skee-ball competition if you're non-violent?
I'm generally non-violent, but I'll throw a punch if I have to. So if we're talking like the classic Universal monsters, I could take Dracula. I'm Catholic, so well, that's a complicated statement. Anyway, I could take Dracula. We have a bunch of holy water and such just laying around.
I don't know. I used to be pretty good at skee-ball, but I'm not really anymore since I don't frequently go to places like Mr. Gaddy's that have skee-ball things. But
I don't imagine that like the Frankenstein monster would be particularly good at skee-ball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll go with that.
And as for the giant monsters, I could probably take Minya.
Rude. But that's...
Take him out for ice cream.
But that would be in his domain because that's a place for kids.
Yeah.
So...
just now I'm just picturing, like, what if some adult got brought onto Monster Island Ichiro style and just picked on Minya relentlessly?
Rude.
That would be terrible, but I would laugh so much. I love Minya. You know this.
You know who would probably be bad at skee-ball is Mothra. I love her.
Oh,
but she would use too much force with the wind from her wings.
Mm-hmm. Also, I got a fly swatter. I could probably...
Rude.
Go on before I put more feet in my mouth.
Finally, what are you most excited about for Season 2?
What I am most excited about for Season 2 is, well, we're going to be covering my favorite Godzilla movies in Season 2, which is kind of the post Destroy All Monsters run. Basically, I love the weirdest ones. Everything between Destroy All Monsters and Terror of Mechagodzilla. I'm very excited to get to talk about those. This first season has been kind of loose in terms of theming with the essays, but the second season, as it's being written, as it's taking shape, there is a central theme, and there are traces of it here in the first season, But as we go through the second one, that theme is going to become more and more central. And I'm excited to work through that. And specifically, I'm also excited about some of the guests we have coming up in Season 2.
Yeah.
I can't say anything right now because a lot of it's not nailed down, but I am excited about some of the people we'll be talking to. And I'm really excited to continue to share these movies with you guys. That's kind of what this is about for me.
Yes.
And that's to be able to continue to do it. It's very exciting.
Indeed. And that is the last of the questions.
The last question, eh? Well, this is the last full monster mailbag we're having. All the in-between episodes that are coming up are themed. We'll have we'll have a giveaway on episode 17.5. And then on episode 18.5, we have kind of a clip show special type thing coming up that I'm editing right now and having a lot of fun with. Then episode 19.5, we're having a special discussion with an upcoming guest about some tokusatsu TV from the 60s. And then the giveaway winner will be announced on episode 20.5. So, that's how that's going. If you want to reach the show, we're still gonna, if we get email, we'll probably read it in the outros. We're just not gonna have dedicated mailbags for the rest of the season. But if you do want to reach us, recordallmonsterspod@gmail.com is how you email us. You can find us on Twitter @monstersrecord. You can find us on Instagram @recordallmonsters.pod. Mm-hmm. You can find us on Facebook by searching Record All Monsters Podcast. We have a website, recordallmonsters.wordpress.com. Mm-hmm. I update that most Saturdays. I went about 2 weeks without updating it recently because I forgot to. But honestly, yeah, it's kind of amazing I've updated it ever. But you can also contact us through the website. Just send me a comment on the website and I can answer it. I'll usually get back to those in person. Or not in person. I'm not going to find your IP address, follow up with your internet service provider, and knock on your door and say, hey, so this is a list of movies for next season. I'll just reply and let you know. But next week we'll be talking about Gamera with Parker and Q.
Woo.
Who were here, if you remember, for the episode on the original Godzilla movie.
Yes.
So they're coming in for Gamera's debut as well. And after that conversation with them, we will probably take a nap. No, we play a game, we have a good time. And the giveaway will be the episode following that. The announcement of the giveaway. And the winner will be announced a few weeks later. So, anything else we need to tell anybody, Courtney?
No, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Thank you, Ben, for your wonderful questions.
Yes.
And remember that monsters are your friends.